Shabbat Shalom. Good evening, everybody. We're going to start in just a couple of minutes. We're having a little technical challenge, but we hope to start very soon. Okay, now we're ready to rock and roll. So good evening, Shabbat Shalom. Welcome, everyone. Thank you all for being here. Let's start with a song as we usually do. If you'll turn to page 128, you can join me in Hine Matov. Hine matov u'mana'im shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov u'mana'im shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov u'mana'im shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov u'mana'im shevet achim gam yachad. All right, and then I always like to do Shalom Aleichem, but I'm having trouble finding the page. Where are we on Shalom Aleichem? Audrey's my page expert. How many people are up for learning a new tune for Shalom Aleichem? Anybody? Anybody against learning a new tune? Yeah, I know. So you don't want to do a new one? Oh, okay. So this song, Shalom Aleichem, is a very traditional song. And the tune is by, sorry? 142, thank you. The tune is a lovely tune. It's by a rabbi named David Schneier. He lives in Maryland. I worked with him at a congregation for a little while. He used to run a group called the Fabrengen Fiddlers. So he was very much a musical person, and he wrote this tune, which is sort of a waltz, okay? It's a very lovely, lilting way to welcome a peaceful Shabbat. I'll sing it once, and then I'll break it up in parts for you to learn along, okay? And you at home can sing as loud as you want, because we won't hear you anyway. It goes like this. Shalom Aleichem, Malchei HaSharet, Malachei Hasharin, Malachei Elyon. That tune repeats. Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, Hakadosh, Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Then it goes up. Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, Hakadosh, Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, Hakadosh, Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Bum, 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 bum. Okay? So that's the basic tune. We've got the 4 verses. Let me break it up a little bit at a time so you can catch on, okay? First part is this. Shalom Aleichem. Just that much. Shalom Aleichem. Beautiful. And then it goes a little bit higher. Malachei Hasharet. Try that. Malachei Hasharet. That repeats. Malachei Hasharet. Malachei Elyon. Okay? And you have to be careful here and look at the words, because sometimes the word is malache with an aleph, and sometimes it's just malche without an aleph. All right? So let's take it from the beginning, nice and slow. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon. Beautiful. So that tune repeats, but the words change. Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, Hakadosh, Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Very nice. All right, let's try that one top paragraph all together from the beginning. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, Hakadosh, Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Perfect. Now this is where it goes up. Boachem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom. Just that much. Boachem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom. Very nice. Then it goes, Malachei, Malachei Elyon. Let's try that. It's a little more complicated. Okay, let's take it from the second paragraph. Boachem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei, Malachei Elyon. And again, same tune, but the words change. Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, Hakadosh, Hakadosh Baruch Hu. And we don't have to sing it, but it goes bum, 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 ba bum. Then we go back to the beginning tune for the third one, and back to the higher tune for the fourth paragraph. Okay, so let's move on to Barchuni. Barchuni l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, Hakadosh, Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Now up high. Tzeitchem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, Hakadosh, Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Bum, 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 ba-da-dum, bum. Raise your hands. Reach back and pat yourself on the back. You did a great job. Really nice of you to be open to that. And if you liked it, you can let me know quietly, and then we can do it again. Or if you don't like it, we won't ever do it again. All right, so now let's light some candles to bring the Shabbat in. Ethel has graciously agreed to come up and do that for us. That's back on page 121, or somewhere around there. Do you need a book?
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu ner shel Shabbat. Amen.
Amen. Beautiful, thank you. All right. So since we spent so much time on that, we'll skip some of the earlier Psalms and go right to Lecha Dodi, 138. And we'll back off to the more traditional tune for this one, okay? So please join me, 138. This evening we'll do all the verses on 138 and then go to the bottom one on 139 as we rise to face the door just for that final verse. Lecha dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nekabla. Lecha dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nekabla. I'm sensing people might want a more energetic tune. Is that right? Okay. So let's go back to the Israeli one. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad hishmiyandu el hamiyuchad Adonai echad u'shemo echad l'shem u'letiferet v'litila lecha dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nikabela Lecha dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nikabela likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha ki hi mekor ha-miracha merosh mikedem nesucha sof ma'aseh b'machashav hatchila Lecha dodi lecha dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nikabela lecha dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nikabela mihigdash melech ir melucha Kumitzei mitoch ha'hafecha Rav lach shevet b'emek habacha Vehu yachamol ala yichem la Lecha dodi likrat kala Penei Shabbat nikabela Lecha dodi likrat kala Penei Shabbat nikabela Hitna arim me'afar kumi Livshi bigdei tifartech amim Al yad ben Yishai beit halachmi Korva el nafshi ge'ala Lecha dodi Lecha dodi likrat kala Penei Shabbat nikabela Lecha dodi likrat kala Penei Shabbat nikabela. Please rise as you're able and face the door. Verse 9. Bohi v'shalom ateret bala Gam b'simcha u'v'tzohala toch emunei am segula, bo ichala, lecha, lecha, dodi, lecha, dodi, likrat kalam, penei Shabbat nekabela, lecha, dodi, likrat kalam, penei Shabbat nekabela. You may be seated. All right, our singing has brought the Sabbath bride into our midst. By the way, as you likely have noticed, I intentionally try and change up which verses we do each week. That way, eventually, we'll all know the entire prayer, okay? So some weeks we'll do the first four, some the last four, some weeks the odd ones, some weeks the even ones, and eventually you'll get there, and you've got it in the transliteration. If the Hebrew's too complicated, it's okay. It's all good. All right. So we go to page 140 to read our psalm for Shabbat and then sing the closing prayer of that psalm. Page 140, let's read together at the bottom. A psalm, a song for Shabbat. It is good to praise Adonai, to sing hymns to your name, O Most High, to proclaim your steadfast love at daybreak, your faithfulness each night, with a 10-string harp and with voice and lyre together. You have gladdened me by your deeds, Adonai. I shout for joy at your handiwork. How great are your works, Adonai, how very subtle your designs. A brute cannot know, a fool cannot understand this. The righteous bloom like a date palm, they thrive like a cedar in Lebanon. Planted in the house of Adonai, they flourish in the courts of our God. In old age, they still produce fruit. They are full of sap and freshness, attesting that Adonai is upright, my rock in whom there is no wrong. All right, so at the indented Hebrew, tonight we'll start out with the traditional tune, and if people object to that, we'll go to the dance tune, okay? Here's the traditional one. Tzadika tamar yifrach, ki erez balvanon yizgeshetulim bevet Adonai bechatzrot Eloheinu yafrichu od yenuvun mesevam deshenim verananim yiyu lehagid ki yashar Adonai tzuri velo avlatabo. Very nice. Well, that takes us to the conclusion of Kabbalat Shabbat, which we find on page 144 with the Chatzi Kaddish, followed immediately by the call to prayer for the evening service, the Baruch, and the blessings before the Shema. As you know, our tradition is to stand beginning at the Kaddish, through the Shema, and then be seated for V'ahavta and continuing. Okay? 144. Yitkahada Shemei Rabba Amen B'alma Divra Chirute V'amlich Malchute Mechayechon Uv'yomechon Uv'chaye Dechol Beit Yisrael Bagala Uvisman Kariv Heimeru Amen Yeshmei Rabba Mevorach Li'alam Li'al Me'al Maya Yitbarach Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpar v'yitramam v'yitnasem v'yithadar v'yitale v'yithalal Shemei dekudsha berichu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata Damiran bi'alma v'yimeru. Amen. 146. Barechu et Adonai hamivorach. Baruch Adonai hamivorach le'olam va'em. Baruch Adonai hamivorach le'olam va'ed. We continue on the next page, 148. The last three lines of the Hebrew. El chai v'kayam tamidim lo chaleinu le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai ha'ma'ariv ha'ravim. Amen. 150, the traditional Ahavat Olam. Ahavat Olam Beit Yisrael Amcha Ahavta Torah u'mitzvot Chukim u'mishpatim Otanu limadeta Al kein Adonai Eloheinu b'shochbeinu v'kumeinu nasiach b'chukecha v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha u'v'mitzvotecha le'olam va'em ki hem chayenu v'yorech yameinu v'yorech yameinu uvahem nege yomam v'layla yomam v'layla V'avatecha tasir mimenu le'olamim Baruch atah Adonai Ohev amo Yisrael. Amen. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kevod Malchutam Le'olam Va'ed. You may be seated. 154, we continue together. Ve'yavta et Adonai Elohecha Bechol levavcha ubechol nafshecha ubechol meodecha vehayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi metzavecha hayom alevavecha veshinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam Beshivtecha beveitecha, uverlechtecha vaderech, uveshochbecha, uvekumecha, ukshartam leot al yadecha, vehayu letotafot bein enecha, uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha, uvisharecha, Leman tizkeruhu vasitem et kol mitzvotaim v'hitem kedoshim leloechem ani Adonai Elohechem Asher hotzeti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim, lihiot lachem le'elohim, ani Adonai Elohechem, Adonai Elohechem emet. Let's read together the top of 157. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before we ever stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands and marching together. Page 158, we sing together, Mi Chamocha. Mi Chamocha ba'elim Adonai, Mi Kamocha nedar ba'kodesh, Nora tehilot osef elem. Malchut charavnecha bokei yam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam ze'eli anu v'yamru Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed v'ne'emar kifada Adonai et Yaakov ugalo miad chazak mimenu baruch atah Adonai Gal Yisrael. Amen. 160, where it's indented for the Hebrew. If you know this nusach for this blessing, please join me. Ushmor tzeitenu uvoenu l'chaim u'l'shalom me'ata v'ad olam. Baruch atah Adonai. Haporez sukat shalom aleinu v'al kol amo Yisrael v'al Yerushalayim. Amen. This takes us to the Amidah, the most important prayer we have in any of our services. It's called Hatfilah, as you see at the top of page 164. As if it's the prayer. It's also called Amidah because we say it standing. And as I always explain, this is our chance to have a private audience with God and pray for whatever it is we want, whether we use the Hebrew, the English, our own prayers, or any combination thereof. So we begin rising and chanting together this beginning phrase on 164, then the next two pages together, and then you continue silently through 180. Please be seated whenever you've finished your prayer session. Adonai sifatai tiftachu fi agiti latecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, B'konei HaKol, V'zocher Chasdei Avod Imahot, Umevi geula livnei v'neihem leman shemo mi'ahava. Melech ozer u'moshia u'magen. Baruch atah Adonai, magen Avraham v'ezrat Sarah. Atah gibor le'olam Adonai, mechayei hakol atah rav le'oshia, morid hatam. מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו, לשני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורו, ומידו מלך ממית ומחיים, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה לחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש וקדושים בכל יום יאכלוך הסלע. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. Body or a soul. On our list this evening, we have the following names: Rona Paquette, Robert Tyndall, Miriam Schneier, Avraham Leib, Martin Jean, Kevin Killip, Emmett McDonald, Sharon Schneier, Rebecca Chappis, Colleen Halpern, Linda Stewart, Cheryl Nicole Wright, Karen Devorabat, Masodi Van Norman, Gail Kaplan, Solomon Smear, Elizabeth Enright, Sue Ann Frankel, Harry Indig, Alana Trombley, Kate Barber, AJ Camarada, David Lazarus, Sue Ann Frankel, Noah Wolf, Michael Crook, Sharon Hochberg, Yocheved Batsara, Morton Brodsky, Judith Burdick, Larry Goldstein. Are there other names people would like added to the list? Yes. Okay. English name, do you know her name? Okay. It's all right. Thank you. Any online? Okay. And Leib Aryeh Ben Herschel. We take them all into our minds and into our hearts as we sing together, page 371, in the middle. Mi shebeirach avoteinu mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mi shebeirach imotenu mekor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. All right, again, Shabbat Shalom and welcome. Yesterday was a Jewish holiday. Anybody know what holiday it was? Tisha B'Av. What is Tisha B'Av all about? It is, according to the rabbis, the destruction of both the first temple and the second temple. But according to the Talmud, there are 13 different calamities that the rabbis have identified, which all get attributed to Tisha B'Av, sort of like a Friday the 13th for the Jewish people. The first one was actually when the 12 spies were sent out, if you recall. After wandering in the wilderness for 2 years, they sent spies up to see the land that we were supposed to inherit. And they came back and they all said it was a beautiful land, but 10 of them said, their cities are too fortified, the people are too big and strong, we look like grasshoppers in their eyes, we're not going to go after them. And so, even though the other two said, you're wrong, we should do this, they decided no. And that got God a little bit angry that they didn't have faith that God would help them. And so then a few of them broke off on their own and went up and tried to take it, and of course they were defeated soundly and quickly. That supposedly happened on Tisha B'Av. There are people who say that all of the expulsions in Europe, from England, from Spain, from Italy, Germany, other places, they all happened on Tisha B'Av. Now, it's probably not correct in terms of the actual dates, but if you think about it, wouldn't it be smarter and better for our positive energy to put all those bad things on one day and just mourn that one day and remember each of them, but just one time a year, it's enough. Dayenu, thank you. So that's been what our tradition is. Now, the first temple, according to rabbinic tradition, was destroyed because of idolatry. The second temple was destroyed because of what was called sinat chinam. And that translates usually as baseless hatred, but I would say it's almost more accurate to say not just hate without a cause, but unbounded hatred. No boundaries around it. Now, my belief as both a rabbi and a social worker is nobody's born hating. Hating is something we learn. Some of us, if we're lucky, when we learn something that's wrong or bad, we can unlearn it and correct ourselves. Others of us may have more trials and tribulations with that. But the classic example of baseless hatred comes from the Talmud, where the rabbis tell of a very wealthy man in Jerusalem who wanted to throw a party, and so he invited all the important people in Jerusalem, all of the rabbis and all the other wealthy people. They were all invited to this party, And he tells his servant, oh, by the way, go get my friend Kamsa and make sure he comes. And so the servant goes, except instead of going to Kamsa, who was the friend of this wealthy man, he goes to a man named Bar Kamsa, who happens to be this wealthy man's enemy. And so the servant brings Bar Kamsa into the party, and the host is, of course, astounded and not very happy. He says, what are you doing here? You weren't invited. Get out. And Kamsa says very calmly, please, I understand that we're not friends, but I'm already here in your home. There's all these people here. I'll be happy to pay for whatever I eat and drink. Please, just let me stay for my dignity. No way. I want you out of here. He said, okay. I understand you're upset, but I'll pay up to half the cost of the entire party if you please just let me stay. No, there's no way you're going to stay at my party. I want you out of here. And so one more time he begs and he says, please, just I'll pay for the entire party. Whatever it costs you, I will pick up the whole tab. Just let me stay, please, so I can preserve my dignity. And he tells the servant, get him out of here. Actually, the servant wouldn't do it, so he grabbed him by the hand himself and ushered him out of the party. Bar Kamsa, of course, was quite upset by this, but he wasn't just upset by the treatment of the host. He was also upset that no one in that entire party stood up for him. It was clear that there was a ruckus going on because they were raising their voices. Not even the rabbis who were there stood up for him. And that was what made him so upset. And according to tradition, why the temple was destroyed. That was an example of the kind of baseless hatred that was going on at the time. But I don't want to end Shabbat on a negative note. So I want you to think about, and there's no right answer. You're welcome to shout out whatever answers you might have. So we've just talked about what baseless or unbounded hatred might be like. What would baseless love or unbounded love look like? What kind of an example might we be able to think of that?
In my experience, it was the parent-child relationship. I had wonderful, wonderful parents. I adored them, and I think they adored me, you know.
Yeah, and usually in social work, we call that unconditional love. A parent's love for the child is not conditioned on anything else. They're just, the bond, the relationship itself is the basis for that kind of love. Anybody else want to share a thought? We live in a time, sadly, where baseless hatred seems to be growing exponentially, partially because of social media and podcasts and all kinds of things, much of it directed at us as Jews. And the echo chambers just keep making that noise grow louder and louder. So how do we react to that? I think our job as Jews is to remember our own values, which include the fact that baseless hatred is wrong, and we are supposed to v'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, love every one of your neighbors as yourself. Okay? We're all humans. None of us are perfect. We all have flaws. And we have to look at the other people and try and feel that love. We have to try and give that love. Was that baseless hatred we heard about in the Bar Kamsa story? Was that a choice? Could that host not have chosen something else? Maybe we can choose something else too when we're feeling frustrated or angry or hateful towards somebody for whatever reason, and it may be a perfectly good reason. But we don't want to let that take over our thinking or our behavior. We need, if we're going to bring tikkun olam, the correction of the world, we need to bring more love. That's part of it. We need to be proud, and we need to bring more love to the world. Shabbat shalom. All right, so we are ready to return to our prayer books now to begin our closing prayers. The first one can be found on page 586, the bottom of half of the page. Please rise as you are able. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, latet gdula liyotzeh bereshit, shelho asanu kigoyei haratzot, velo samanu kemishpachot ha'adamah, shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, v'goralenu ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. 588 שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסר הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובהי מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, הם את מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום והשבות אל לבביך, כי אדוני הוא אלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד. 591 ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד. You may be seated. Mike, I'm going to ask you to pick an English reading, if you'd be willing to come up and do one anywhere between 594 and 597, and you can come on up whenever you've chosen. But as I say each week, we Jews always take time to remember those that we have lost at every service that we do, and we do that with the Mourner's Kaddish, even though it doesn't say anything in Kaddish about memory or mourning or anything else. All it is a praise of God. But we stop and we remember those during their Shiva, during their Shloshim, and at the yard sites, the anniversaries of their passing. And Mike is generous enough to sponsor tonight's Oneg in memory of his wife's yard site. The other names that we have, all the names that we have for this week on our list include Joan Becker, Lenny Berniker, Sal Paisner, Giddel Roberts, Beatrice Schulman, Milton Nosenchuk, Eric Reese, Isaac Cohen, Eva Paisner, Harold Goldstein, Yacha Egbert, Faye Duke, Evelyn Nover, Norman Ordauer, Gertrude Rosen, and Sandy Malowitz. What's your? Reva Manchuk, thank you. Philip Katz, yes. Okay, which reading did you choose?
Number 7 on the bottom, page 595.
Thank you.
There are stars up above, so far away we only see their light, long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people that we have loved. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us, as we live our days, these are the ways we remember.
Thank you. Stay open. So first of all, anyone who is observing a Shiva right now? Anyone observing Shloshim, 30 days? And anyone who's observing a yard site for a relative anniversary? Okay, so you should lead us in Mortis Kaddish, and I'll join you, but you could start us off.
Yid Gadol.
Please rise.
Yes.
Please rise.
Yid Gadol, Yid Kadash, Shemei Rabba,
Amen.
Yama Divrach Yerute, Yif Malkute, V'chayedechon, V'yamechon, V'chayedechon Beit Yisrael, Ba'alav Izman Kari V'imru Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabba Mavarach Le'olam Le'omaya. Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yitpawar V'yitomam V'yitnaseh. Yithadar V'yitale V'yitalal Shmei D'Kusha Brichu. Le'ela Minko Birkata V'shirata. Tushbechata V'nechamata. Da'amiran B'yama V'yimru Amen. Yehi Shlama Rabba Min Shemayim. V'chayim Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael Imru Amen. Oseh Shalom B'mromav. Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael Imru Amen. You may be seated. Thank you. All right, we have a few announcements for this week. Many of them have to do with the end of the month. First of all, we had our first seminar on the final chapter, the three-part seminar on death. And the first one was very well received. The second one is going to be this Thursday night, and this will be the one dealing with the death event itself. Yesterday was on pre-planning, and the final one will be on mourning. July 31st also happens to be the deadline for ordering Rosh Hashanah kosher meals through the JCC. You have to register online if you'd like to take advantage of that. That specific July 31st date is a Friday night, and we will not have a service here at Bethel, but there will be a Pride Shabbat program at the JCC from 6:30 until 9. You do have to register for that as well for security reasons. I will be there, and I'd be happy to greet any of you who choose to join that as well. Another announcement, we, as part of our cleanup of the congregation, you've heard us say that we're going to be scheduling some dates to do some of the cleanup. I've already gone through the books, all the books in all the libraries, and they are separated into three sections. There's things that are going to be buried, and there are things that are going to be trashed or recycled, and then there's the ones that will be saved somewhere in the library. Any member of the congregation is welcome to come and take any of the books that are not in the save pile. If you want from the bury pile, which would be prayer books and Talmuds and Torah books, things like that, or anything that's in the quote-unquote trash pile, you are welcome to come, bring a bag, bring a box, take as many as you want, only until July 31st, because at July 31st, they will be taken care of in other ways. Okay, if you have questions, you can ask me about that further in the Oneg in the social hall. For August, we're going to have a couple of special programs that you might want to start putting on your calendars. August 14th, Friday night, we're going to do Shabbat under the stars in the Sal at the Paisner home, so there will be no service here at Bethel. And because space is limited, we do have to have pre-registration for that service, which will be available online in the coming, I think it was in today's e-blast as well. And then the last Friday night in August, we will also not have a service here at Bethel, but we will have a special Shabbat walk led by someone from the organization called Adama, one of the Jewish ecological organizations. He's coming to us from Detroit, where they have an office, and he will lead us on a spiritual nature walk at the Ojibwe Nature Center. Time is the same, 7 p.m., but at the Nature Center on Machette Road in, I think that's Windsor, not LaSalle. And then I will be away the rest of this weekend because I have a family wedding in Los Angeles, but I'll be back in the office Wednesday morning, okay? Any other announcements that people wanted to share? Okay, I forgot to ask for names of yard site people online. Good, I'm glad I didn't leave someone out. All right,
So we're going to conclude with Adon Olam tonight, which, thank you, which you can find on 625. Since I mentioned that it was Tisha B'Av just yesterday, there's a very special tune for a song called Eli Tzion, and it fits very well to Adon Olam. So in memory of Tisha B'Av yesterday, you should be able to get it by the end because we're going to do the same tune for all 5 verses, okay? Goes like this. Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem Kol Yetzir Nivra Le'et Nasa B'chefzo Kol Azai Melech Shemo Nikra V'yacharei Kichlot HaKol Levado Yimloch Noram Vehu Haya Vehu Hoveh Vehu Yiyeh B'tifara Vehu Echad Ve'ein Shenim Leham Shelo Lehachbira Beli Reshid Beli Tachlit Velo Haoz Ve'hamisra Vehu Eli V'chai Goalim V'tzur Chevli B'yetzara Vehu Nisi Umanoslim Menat Kosi B'yom Ekra B'yado Avkid Ruchi B'eit Ishan V'yairam Ve'im Ruchi Geviyatim Adonai li velo ira. Well, it sounds like some of you knew it already. That concludes our service, but you can turn to page 122 and rise for the Kiddush and Hamotzi. Vayer vayeroker yom hashishi vayechulu hashamayim v'haaretz v'chol tzevam vayechal Elohim bayom hashvi'i melachto asher asa vayishpot bayom hashvi'i mikol melachto asher asa Vayevarech Elohim et Yom HaShvi'i Vayikadesh oto Ki vo shavat mikol melachto Ki vo shavat mikol melachto Asher bara Elohim Asher bara Elohim lasot Savreim Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho b'yavav ratzon inchilanu zikaron lema'aseh bereshit Ki hu yom techila lemikra kodesh zecher litziat mitzrayim kivanu v'acharta v'yotanu kidashta im kol hamim v'shabbat kodshecha Be'ahava uvratzom hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom. Please join us in the social hall for the oneg. Thank you.